companies destroying our climate. It owns huge blocks of stock in these companies, and we are here to impose penalties. To impose a penalty, of course, we need a penalty flag.
Automatic first down.
Penalty on BlackRock. Holding. BlackRock. Holding. $8.2 billion in the Raytheon War Company. So much money that BlackRock could decide to tell Raytheon to stop collaborating with Saudi Arabia in the invasion of Yemen. 377,000 Yemenis have died so far, many of them killed by Raytheon paveway guided bombs. But BlackRock has done nothing, and therefore, BlackRock, you are guilty, and your penalty is to invest in life, not Raytheon. As our banner over here says. And to help us understand this situation a little bit better, we have Ian Harrington. Come on over by the mic, Ian, from Wayland, Massachusetts. Ian is a retired transportation planner and a lifelong Quaker.
Good afternoon. That's a hard act to follow. But I want to talk about why we are here now. With the current state of things, I'm sure we all have many reasons. But I'm going to tell you the three that have brought me here now. First, I am here because I heard that the people of Yemen, who have been suffering the world's worst humanitarian crisis over the past 7 years, think that I, as a U.S. citizen, am responsible for their suffering. They are right, as it is U.S. weapons, technology, and strategy that have been destroying their country. The U.S. media refers to U.S. support for a Saudi-led coalition, but the actions of the U.S. government are making all of us complicit in the suffering of the millions in Yemen and so many others around the world. This can't go on. Second, I'm here because conflicts like those in Yemen and Ukraine would not be happening if the U.S. weapons industry did not produce so many lethal weapons and distribute them around the world. These merchants of death have no conscience. While all of us were horrified by what was happening in Ukraine, Gregory Hayes, the Raytheon Technology CEO, referred to it as an opportunity for international sales and stated, "I fully expect we're going to see some benefit from it." I can't abide by such an example of heartless greed. That's what brings me here right now. as Raytheon and the other merchants of death would not do their destruction if they were not supported by financial institutions like BlackRock, an investment management corporation whose Boston office we now stand in front of. It holds over $8 billion, or 6.5% of all Raytheon stock. That is not acceptable in our community. The world needs to recognize war as an act against humanity, not an investment opportunity. I'm here to call on BlackRock to divest from Raytheon and the weapons industry, or at the very least, to use its position as a major stockholder to change the mission of Raytheon and the weapons industry to producing myriad materials to meet the vast needs of our global community. Or in other words, change the mission from death to life.
Yep.
We all need to invest in life, not death. Thank you.
Another penalty. Inhuman-like conduct. BlackRock. BlackRock, we must impose a severe penalty for the fact that you own $260 billion in stock of the main climate destroyers in this country. BlackRock has over $100 billion invested in coal. Here we have climate catastrophe sitting on our doorstep, and BlackRock, who controls these companies, does nothing. We have a penalty for you, BlackRock. Invest in life, not fossil fuels. Invest in life. Not fossil fuels. Invest in life, not fossil fuels. Invest in life, not fossil fuels. And now we are going to have Dr. Jill Stein, environmental advocate, medical doctor, peace organizer, presidential candidate of the Green Party in 2016 and 2020. Tell us some stuff that we have to know. Take it away, Jill.
Thank you, Paul. Woo. Thank you all. I think what we need to know is that this is on us. We are the ones who are going to take our government back, take our future back, take our planet back, take our society back, because right now it's going up in flames, in the flames of war and the flames of climate change. And it is the likes of BlackRock that are enabling this. The financial enablers of death and destruction, a double dose of death and destruction from war and from climate change. And Paul just gave you some of the numbers. BlackRock actually holds $10 trillion in investment. They manage $10 trillion. You know what we could do with $10 trillion?
End world hunger?
We could end hunger. Absolutely. We could actually end hunger around the world. We don't have to pay for universal health care. It pays for itself, actually. We save so much money, $500 billion a year, in fact. So good point. Thank you for making that. This is about betrayal It's about mismanagement on high. It's about negligence. It's about the violation of the basic democracy that Brian was talking about when he started us off. Tax day should be about representation. No taxation without representation, rather than representation of the lobbyists and the big, powerful special interests who are making out like bandits. And that includes the war industry, and that includes the fossil fuel industry. And just to say a couple more things, BlackRock holds, as Paul was saying, BlackRock holds some $260 billion in fossil fuel investments, and that includes over $100 billion in coal, which is the worst of the fossil fuels. They also own over $30 billion in new coal. We don't need any coal, and we especially don't need new coal, because you probably heard the most recent climate report by the UN, the so-called IPCC. Their last report said, you know how long we have to cut our fossil fuel emissions in half? Anybody know? About 5 years. That's right. If we want a world we can live in, we have about 5 years. And in Boston, we're already flooding. Neighborhoods are already flooding in Boston. Do you know we had a heat wave a couple weeks ago in the Arctic and the Antarctic that took the temperature up 50 and 70 degrees. 50 and 70 degrees higher than the average temperatures. That's what happened just a couple weeks ago. And you know what else is happening in the Arctic and the Antarctic is the melting of ice sheets. And you know what the melting of ice sheets means? In Boston, that means a lot of flooding. It means we begin to lose our coastline in a big way. And Boston is especially vulnerable to that. And in particular, there's one glacier. I just want to mention its name, because its name should really put the fear of God in us. That's the so-called Doomsday Glacier, the Thwaites Glacier. Does that ring a bell to anybody? So Thwaites is breaking up. The shelf which holds it back, the shelf extends into the water, it holds it back like a brake. That's going to go in 3 to 5 years. It's breaking up. It'll go in 3 to 5 years, and behind that is 2 feet of sea level. 2 feet of sea level. So that means we really need to take this seriously. BlackRock needs to divest. We need to divest from the likes of BlackRock. We need to tell our pension funds not to invest in BlackRock. We need to tell our elected officials we need different rules of the road. We need to put people, planet, and peace over profit. And if we are working together across these movements, we can make it happen. So thank you so much for making it so.
Thank you, Dr. Stein.
Thank you, Jill. Okay, we have to let the world know this information. We have to act, and act soon.
I can't hear you.
Our next stop is going to be J.P. Morgan Chase.
Whoa.
If you think BlackRock is bad, wait until you hear about J.P. Morgan Chase. Okay, Babam and Brian are going to lead us up State Street, a left on Washington Street. Let's everybody stay together. When we get to Chase, get those whistles ready again, okay?
This way on State Street, everyone. This whole thing used to be like 2 miles, and then it was like no Tiene buen ser más de mi español. Es un placer.
Invest in life, not death. 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 To blow the whistle on J.P. Morgan Chase. Yeah. No bank on earth provides more loans, funding, underwriting, everything to fossil fuel companies. Whether you're talking about fracking, whether you're talking about oil or gas, whether you are talking about destruction and deforestation, right here is where a lot of it begins. To let us know what's going on, Ava Bertolotti from the Sunrise Climate Group at Northeastern and a member of a new forming organization, the Climate Finance Network, is here. Please, everyone, listen to the important words that Ava has for us.
I'm not going to repeat the line about Wall Street financiers and politicians in their pockets stealing my generation's future and selling it to the fossil fuel industry because thank you. Because they have already destroyed the present for youth my age across the global south. The education that I am afforded by a university that is actively complicit in Raytheon's war profiteering is a dream shattered by both cyclones and bombs, both drought and guns, wildfires and landmines, and myriad environmental injustices affecting millions of the most marginalized at home and abroad, perpetrated by weapons manufacturers like Raytheon and fossil fuel companies, planetary-scale corporate polluters aided and abetted by the bank I'm standing in front of now. J.P. Morgan Chase is the world's largest funder of corporate climate criminals. It has financed fossil fuel projects to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars. About $382 billion from 2016 to 2021, almost $62 billion in 2021 alone, according to the 2022 Banking on Climate Chaos report. Chase is a top lender to ExxonMobil, Saudi Aramco, TC Energy, and Occidental Petroleum, among others. It has provided upwards of $1.5 billion to Gazprom in the past year. J.P. Morgan Chase is a shameless agent of fossil fuel expansion. It's instrumental in the drive to exploit oil and natural gas reserves in the warming, vulnerable, yet climate-critical Arctic Circle. It is promoting extractivist land grabs in the Amazon rainforest and invests heavily in offshore oil drilling. The company contributed to Adani's Carmichael coal project on Wangan and Jagalingu land in so-called Australia, going back on its own commitment to stop bankrolling coal companies. It's the largest financier of fracked oil and gas, and the third largest investor in liquefied natural gas extraction. Chase is the #1 backer of so-called Canada's Coastal GasLink pipeline, in violation of its own free, prior, and informed consent policies, even as Wet'suwet'en and Gitsan water protectors continue their resistance. It gets worse. Chase provided a sustainability-linked loan to Enbridge for their Line 3 pipeline. Sustainable pipeline is an oxymoron, given tar sands oil considered the world's dirtiest crude. A single cent for sustainability is an utter travesty. All futures, but the cards are stacked against them. Choosing to profit from harm will always be violent. J.P. Morgan Chase can decide to cut its financial lifeline to the petro-military complex, ending its complicity in climate chaos and human rights abuses, or it can remain in the ranks of the climate criminals. Either way, we won't let it hide behind its greenwash. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ava. Invest in life, not fossil fuels. 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 We now want to show the public what these investments that Chase is making really means. Could we have those who are going to be representing the victims of Raytheon's wars and of the disastrous climate change going on? Right along this sidewalk here.
Oh my God, cool is really good. Oh, I need to get a picture.
Those lying down, we're representing the victims of Raytheon's bombs in Yemen and the victims of wildfires, floods, sea level rise that are starting to hit us more and more all the time, caused by climate change. Both of these disasters for the human race are financed by Chase Bank. Chase, it is time to pull the plug on your financing of climate catastrophe and to invest in life, not death. 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 Babam and Brian will now lead us down to our final financial institution today, responsible for so much danger going on in the world, and that will be State Street Bank.
Thank you.
So let us get ourselves together here. Babam, if you can get out front again. And we'll be heading straight down Summer Street and take our third right onto Lincoln Street.
So you're the one on.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Pavan. Get out those whistles. Okay, let him have it. Okay, State Street Bank, we are here to blow the whistle on you. And we are here to impose a few penalties for what your investments are doing to the people of the world and to us right here. Holding State Street Bank, the owner of State Street Global Assets, holding $12.1 billion in Raytheon in their weapons production. State Street Global Advisors is the largest stockholder in Raytheon on Earth. While Raytheon has been collaborating with the Saudi government to invade Yemen, while 377,000 Yemenis have died, many from Raytheon's paveway guided bombs. You, State Street, have done nothing but rake in blood money from Raytheon. Reserve the flag. We have another penalty. Inhuman-like conduct. State Street holds billions of dollars in investment in companies creating this climate crisis that we are in right now. For both your investment, State Street Global Advisors, in Raytheon and in numerous oil and petroleum companies, we are imposing on you the penalty that you must invest in life, not death. Invest in life, not death. Invest in life, not death.
Invest.
And now to tell us some of the things that we need to know about what's happening in our world and the role of these gigantic financial institutions that run our city. We have Hayat Imam, Hayat is a Dorchester resident and a grandmother of 4. So she speaks with authority.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for showing up at this critical moment in our history. The spirit today has been absolutely fantastic. And may I please call on Babam? Thank you so much for contributing so much to that. Loved it. And I'm honored to say a few words. Our military budget is a scandal. Who agrees with that? It's 54% of our discretionary spending, which is what? A staggering $740 billion. This is more money than the military spending of the next 9 countries combined. Next 10 by now, right? Updated. Gosh. And this includes Russia and China. So what does this tell us? This should tell us, this is something very critical right away, that this huge military is not really needed for our country's defense. Instead, what becomes increasingly clear is that the military establishment, the weapons manufacturers, the fossil fuel industries are intrinsically intertwined. Indeed, they are working together to promote wars of aggression around the globe in order to justify this astronomical budget. The military-industrial complex is actually a very lucrative business. The military protects fossil fuels and seeks to control oil resources around the world on behalf of the fossil fuel industry. And at the same time, here's the kicker, at the same time, the military is itself the largest institutional consumer of fossil fuels in the world. Boo! And what we may not know is the shocking fact that the US military is a bigger polluter of carbon emissions than 140 countries. Between 2001 and 2017, the US military exuded 1.2 billion metric tons of carbon emissions. Think of it. Think of it. This is a larger carbon footprint than many countries on Earth. Big banks and financial institutions are playing a role in all of this because they are the ones who are making the most significant investments in big oil and gas as well as in the weapons manufacturing industry. Blow the whistle on these guys. What this means essentially is that big banks and financial institutions are contributing hugely to global warming and to war. Let me bring home what this means in terms of human costs. I have just returned from my original home of Bangladesh. Rising seas due to global warming are already eroding the coastlines of this small but densely populated country. One effect of that is that the groundwater along the coast is becoming too salty to drink. This means little Bangladeshi children are already having trouble finding drinking water due to climate change. We're standing here today in front of State Street Bank, which is the owner of an asset called State Street Global Advisors. Remember that, SSGA. State Street Global Advisors has the dubious distinction of being the single largest investor in Raytheon Technologies, a weapons manufacturer based right here in Massachusetts. Raytheon has been selling weapons of war to Saudi Arabia for years, making profits of billions of dollars. And listen, this is a very cozy, ongoing relationship because Raytheon has just received a new $650 million contract for new arms to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, in turn, has used these very weapons in a deadly war on the people of Yemen for the past 7 years, killing thousands of children from bombings, from war-induced famine, and rampant cholera. I can hardly bear to look at the pictures of the emaciated little Yemeni children being crushed by weapons made in Massachusetts, or at least by a Massachusetts company. Wherever they're being made, they're all over the country, but it's a Massachusetts company. This is why we're gathered here today. We are not going to stand silently by. We are asking you, the banks and investors. We were at Chase, at BlackRock, State Street Global Advisors, owned by State Bank, right here, to think of the children of the world who are suffering from your policies and your financial decisions. We are here to remind you that you have a choice. You can divest from the war machine. Stop buying their stocks and loaning them money. You can instead invest in all the things that will give our children and our grandchildren a livable future. Don't our children deserve a world that is safe? A world free from weapons of war? And climate catastrophe? This is not what we want. Don't forget, we're talking about your beloved children and your beloved grandchildren as well as ours. Are you listening, State Bank? Remember, the children, the next time you are at a board meeting of these companies, State Street Global Advisors, you are by far the largest shareholder in Raytheon Technologies. You control the stocks. That means you and other financiers can use your power to dictate the directions taken by these companies. Will it be towards life or will it be towards death? Here we are standing here to say, do the right thing.
Invest in life, not death. Invest in life, not death. Invest in life, not death. Invest in life, not death.
Just while we're waiting to wind up our action today, which we will continue tomorrow and Friday and all the rest of the days necessary to get these changes made. We're going to have an announcement about some important events coming up on Friday. Jill?
Thank you, Paul, and thank you to everybody for coming out at this really critical moment where we're seeing war become accepted as the norm. We're looking at nuclear weapons, the new nuclear arms race, the proliferating threats which are reaching unprecedented extremes, being accepted as if there's some way we would survive a nuclear war. There is not. Looking at disparities, the crushing economy, inequality, racial, economic, gender, generational. Inequality has also become the way of the day. As these crises intensify, as they get worse, our resistance is also intensifying. As those crises come together, the resistance must come together, as we've done here today. And I really congratulate Mass Peace Action and all the organizers that helped make this happen here today. This is really a new way forward. For those of us who've been organizing for the past many decades, this is like a new day. This is really awesome. And we're going to build on this on Friday, where we are taking the occasion of Earth Day to say that the threats to the survival of the planet are not only the threats to climate and the environment, they are also this threat of endless and worsening war, the threat of nuclear weapons, and the threat of the crushing inequality of our national and global economies. So we're coming together to build an unstoppable resistance, which is what we have. You know, it's just the top 10%, which is contributing about half of global climate pollution, the top 10%, in the same way that it's the top 1% that is holding on to, dare I say, hogging about 50% of national and global resources. So inequality is the name of the day, and it hits us on all counts. But we have the numbers. They may have the power in our obsolete political and economic system, but we, the people, across borders and across issues, we have the power. And we no longer need to accept that there is no future, because what Hyatt was saying is absolutely right, and you can read it in the polls. The polls that say young people, not only in this country, but across the world, young people by a rate of 2/3 say that they have been abandoned, that they have been abandoned to a future in which there is no future, that about 50% of young people say that they are hopeless, and about 25% of young people say that they've actually considered harming themselves in the last 2 weeks. So, as Hyatt was saying, this isn't somebody else's problem. No matter what side of the economic divide you're on, this is all of our problems. And it will take all of us to fix it. But in the words of Alice Walker, the biggest way people give up power is by not knowing we have it to start with. We have it. We have it in the numbers. We have it in the moral authority. We have it in the options for a truly just, sustainable, and democratic future. So come on Friday, 1 p.m. at Park Street Station. We will march together over to the Extinction Rebellion action at Copley Square. And kudos to Charles over here from Extinction Rebellion, who's been helping to organize that. So let's all keep it happening. Let's let this be a beginning. And we are unstoppable together. Thank you so much.
All right, now we'll have a little music to play us off. Thank you all for coming. Tax Day protests are not just history in the city of Boston, they're current events. Let's keep it going.
In the bell of death flames, in the bell of the bombs, it hide behind